What's cooking good looking? I'm putting together a really great Friday night dinner, and I went all out making a rack of lamb. So this is going to be enough just for 2 people. There are 8 chops on here, and these were already Frenched, because if you French them, it's a lot of labor. So let me show you the part of the rack of lamb that you definitely want to remove. It makes eating and cutting it much easier, and that's that thin membrane, the same membrane you get on a rack of ribs. And it's just a matter of using your fingers, as you can see, just to pull it off, because if you try to chew through this, it's next to impossible. And if you're going to spend this much money on a luxury item like rack of lamb, which is not cheap, you might as well get the most out of it and do it the right way. So that's already done. Very, very easy. Let me just get that little end piece here. Much easier to do with my fingers. All right, so now I'm gonna flip it over, and what I wanna do now is trim the excess fat. Granted, you want a little bit of fat left on it, and I purchased it this way, and as you can see, it looks like somebody started this and then said, nah, I'll let Alice finish it. So I'm basically going to trim, because the last thing we need is more animal fat, right? So once I trim the fat, I will show you my next step, of course, which is going to be seasoning it. Now, I'm not going to take off every tiny piece of fat. I'm going to leave some on as they did. And I'm just kind of holding my knife flush, just like this. I'm not going too crazy. And then, once I do that, I'm just going to flip it around. And what I'm using to cut on is just a disposable mat. I don't have to dispose of it, but what I am going to do is put it in my dishwasher, because my rinse temperature in all dishwashers is like 160 degrees, so that's hot enough to sanitize. So I'm not gonna use a wooden cutting board, that's for sure, to cut meat, because the transferring of bacteria is not good. So I'm almost done. It's a little spotty here. And you can go crazy, right? It never seems perfect, right? But you can go over and over, and I think this will suffice. All right, so now my next step is, I want to add this to my garbage bowl. So what I do when I'm cooking is I have a bowl that I line with a grocery bag. This way I don't have to make several trips to the garbage, right? It's just much easier. Okay, so now I'm gonna give a quick wash my hands. All right, now to season. Okay, what I have here is from Big Country Smokehouse. It's their garlic sea salt. The reason I want to give this a head start, I want to season it with this Big Country Smokehouse garlic sea salt to seep into the meat. Now, I'm not going to cook this for another 2 hours, but I'm going to season it and then I'm going to refrigerate it. The reason I'm using the garlic sea salt is I don't want flecks of garlic on the meat, because I'm going to sear this first, and then after I sear it for color, I'm going to finish it off in the oven. And you will see the recipe on bigcountrysmokehouse.com, and you will see exactly how I did this. So isn't this incredible? This is unlike any garlic salt I've ever used. First of all, this is not iodized salt, which you don't want to use when you're cooking. This is sea salt, and you see all of those incredible flecks of garlic in there. So in addition, and you see it's a big piece of meat, and I'm going to season it liberally, and I'm going to pat it and then flip it over like that. Okay, and then I'm going to add some freshly ground pepper. Okay, perfect. So that's how I season my rack of lamb. And then I'm going to show you how we put together a delicious tapenade to serve alongside the lamb. Once again, let me rinse my hands. Little soap action here. Okay, we're cooking in real time, everybody. So I want to show you, I love condiments. I think dishes are plain if they're not served with some type of tapenade like we're making now, or a relish or a salsa. So what I have here, and you're going to get the recipe on bigcountrysmokehouse.com, I have 2 cloves of garlic, 3 oil-packed sun-dried tomatoes, I've got 2 sprigs of rosemary, and 1/4 cup of packed Italian parsley leaves, and 7 Kalamata olives. If they're tiny, you can go with more. If you have the larger pitted ones, you can go with fewer ones. So now I'm going to add some olive oil because I cannot make a tapenade without some kind of olive oil. And for acidity, just a little bit of red wine vinegar. Now, you can make tapenades all different ways. If you didn't have Kalamata olives, you could use regular green pitted Spanish olives. That's perfectly fine. Now, I don't want to make this into a puree. Rather, I want to just pulse it. I want to make sure the garlic is chopped and the sun-drieds are chopped. Let me take a look. And this is exactly what I'm looking for. Let me show you. I'm going to just grab a spoon. And look what I have here. A beautiful, colorful tapenade. I'm going to give a little taste off my finger. That is delicious. It's briny from the olives and bright from the red wine vinegar. The garlic will develop in flavor as it sits, and it's just so herbaceous with the parsley and the rosemary. Oh my gosh, this is going to be such a hit served alongside this rack of lamb. So do yourselves a favor, visit bigcountrysmokehouse.com. There's